The Competitive African Rice Initiative in East Africa, CARI project, was commissioned by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, through the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, implemented by Killamall Trust to enable locally produced rice in East Africa to competitively substitute the current over 300 million worth of rice imports to the East African Common Market.
The CARI program really came as an upscale or an outscale of the CARI project. And so AGRA really liked the successes that we had on the CARI program, and they decided to fund with USAID money an expansion to Uganda and to Kenya, which were not included in the GIZ project.
Here's what different value chain actors faced before CARI project.
In terms of inputs, I would just look at a farmer and I see good rice and I just go and I say, please, I book your seed, help me with your seed, and then I take it in my garden.
When we started with the farmers, a lot of them actually were using very little mechanization.
Kabla ya mradi wa CARI, wakulima wengi walizoea kulima kwa mazoea, kwa maana ya kumwaga mbegu moja kwa moja shambani, wasipokujua ni kiasi gani cha miche inapandwa shambani, lakini pia hawakuzoea kutumia mbolea, lakini pia hawakuwa kutumia mbegu bora.
Initially, we had a challenge with penetrating the market, especially for our rice, because it wasn't branded, and we could not participate very well in the markets, both national and cross-border.
CARI project was implemented through a consortia approach led by processors, millers, as anchor partners, linked to farmer business organizations, input Argo dealers, business development service providers, and large distributors of rice products. The project had the following interventions.
The assignment started with developing a training and a reference manual. The title is White Rice Good Manufacturing Practice and Rice Mill Processor Business Management. So this manual was developed by a team led by me, and the team composed of members from Uganda and from Tanzania. And this manual was later used as a training material.
We did post-harvest trainings. We have also done farmer business school. We've done a farmer business school. This one is the area whereby the farmer is educated on how to do rice farming as a business.
We've been able to introduce good agronomic practices, mechanization. We have been able to introduce a lot of other interventions that collectively have actually helped the farmers now be able to reduce their production costs quite significantly.
Now, when CARI came through the Easy Agric app, we've been able to map our farmers. We know where our 10,000 farmers are.
East Africa umetuwezesha kuweza kuchimba kisima ambacho tunakitumia kwa maana ya kupata maji ya kutosha, hasa kile kipindi ambacho maji yanakuwa hayatoshi.
With the intervention that Killamall Trust had, several trainings were done on how prudent harvesting could be done using the combine harvesters that are available.
CARI as a project supported input kiosk and the input owners. The kiosk owners were trained on business skills, how to attract customers.
We leveraged resources with CARI and made it possible for Zapta to have its own brand, rice brand called the Zabu Premium Rice, to help us access both national and cross-border trade and also have a market share.
CARI East Africa, through Killamall Trust, they were able to offer one of our strong cooperatives where rice growers multi-purpose. And that way they have been able to produce enough seed for this Komboka variety. And now we have seen an uptake of the new variety, which is cheaper.
The project had a multitude of successes.
We were able to target and work with 202,000 smallholder farmers in the 3 countries. This was about 92% of what we had set out to achieve. Over 160,000 farmers were able to work with technologies to improve efficiency at production and collection and aggregation, as well as billing efficiency. We built a number of storage facilities. We developed and refurbished over 100 facilities in the 3 countries, and this helped us to ensure that farmers could trade either paddy or milled rice through structured markets. About 140,000 metric tons of paddy was traded through structured markets. This was equivalent to about $54 million over the 3-year period, and about 100,000 metric tons of milled rice was traded through structured markets.
The other thing we have seen is that farmers have also been able to access finance through this project. This project has interfaced with several fintechs. One of them which comes to my mind is the Easy Agric tool or app through which farmers can access credit, they can access insurance, they can also be able to access inputs and by using technology. And so this has made the farmers' lives much easier, and they are able to also sell what they produce through the same app.
In Kisumu, the challenge that we're trying to work together with Nyabon is actually the provision of mechanization services that are more appropriate for that particular region. And that is different than what we're trying to do in Mwea, which is where our partnership there has to do with the introduction of new seed varieties that are more yielding than the local Pishori rice that they have there. And that is also at the front end, beginning to open a new product into the market, and in that way giving the farmers in Mwea more income, and also making sure that MRGM is more sustainable because they're able to generate more revenue.
Specifically for Tanzania, we see there a lot of impact. We see increased yield by like 100% in terms of what farmers have been getting so far. But we are seeing Tanzania SMEs exporting rice out of Tanzania as much as Europe and South Africa, which is very important for the generation of foreign currency for the country. So at country level, there's that export earning that is coming out. At SME level, the business that strive and sustain. At farmer level, it's the income of the year.
CARI EA project impacted different value chain actors.
Through the Agric, I was able to know the kind of fertilizer that I apply in my garden. I was able to yield in 3 quarters 16 bags, which some of people get it in 1 acre or 1.5 acres.
But at this time when the Nyabon came, that's where I started getting something that could be seen. I took them to school. Even the teachers could not be annoyed with me because I was paying the whole amount.
Sisi wakulima tutapata maji ya kutosha, pia tutapata mavuno ya kutosha kwa msimu wote. Hata mvua itakapochelewa, sisi tutaendelea na kilimo.
Soka na nsawo emunga jensubula nenjitwalayo ku maduuka nampa sente. Era kati nsobodde okubanga nkulaakulana kati essaawa zino osobola okusuubula ensawo 20. Birungi byenfunyemu nti kati nga ziyizaamuko ku nfuna yange kuba kati nnima omuceere ogwo. Nange bannange bavubuka bannange nemba nga mbawa ku mirimu egyo.
Fursa ambayo Msoma Food imeweza kupata kutoka CARI East Africa. Fursa ya kwanza ni kwamba Msoma Food tulikuwa tunaweza kuongeza wigo wa kuuza mchele katika masoko ya Rwanda, Uganda na Kenya.
We also created a spray team. This is a team of youths that we put together and trained, equipped with the pumps and the protective gear. All this was bought from CARI EA through Kilimo, and These ones, they are making money, they are employed.
Kupitia mradi wa CARI tumeweza kuboresha ubora wa mpunga. Kabla ya hapo wakulima walikuwa wanavuna tu kwa mikono na zile fyekeo za kawaida zile. Sasa kupitia mradi wa CARI tuweza kupata na zana zingine za kuweza kuvuna kisasa.
We've been able to cut down our importation from the 5,000 tons we imported in 2019 to no importation this year because we are reliant on the farmers who are supplying us the paddy rice.
We have seen our rice gain in popularity. We have captured some good market now, both local and exports.
The highlights of farmer organizations that didn't benefit from CARI EA project.
As Manafa Basin, we did not benefit as processors, and we believe that it would have helped us a lot, especially when it comes to drying of rice. As you can see, we are relying on Mother Nature. If the sun does not shine, then we don't get to dry our crop. And not only drying the crop, but also in a manner which is acceptable, which can guarantee a higher quality of the rice product. So we believe that if the CARI had worked with us, we would have improved on the drying slab area. Maybe we upgrade it to concrete, and also maybe to look at a dryer, maybe which is powered by the husk, which is a byproduct of our own processing here, so that we can have farmers bring in rice. It's dried on time, and the quality is very, very good.
Here are some of the recommendations that need to be put into future consideration.
Impact yake bado haijaonekana kwa sababu palitakiwa patengenezwe mashamba 3-4 hata ya hekta 200, 300 au hekta 1000 kama sehemu zingine. Hiyo ingejenga hamasa kwa wakulima kwa kuona kwamba ile miradi inazalisha. Na ndio maana sehemu zote zenye skimu nchini wakulima wana extend wenyewe kutengeneza mashamba ya namna ile baada ya kuona kwamba mashamba yale yanakuwa ni madogo kwa ajili yao na wanajiongeza.
For us to realize the full benefits and the impact of the project, it really requires not less than 5 years project for you to see the real impact of a market-led initiative like the one we are doing.
I would also wish to recommend that further support be given to East African partner states to address the rice production gaps. For example, putting together, supporting the development of infrastructure like the small scale and medium large scale irrigation facilities.
Milling facilities in other regions, apart from Kirinyaga County, they are not adequate. So we have areas of Western region. We are trying to encourage more participation, either by the farmer organizations or through private sector.
We need all hands on deck. We need government to come to the table, we need private sector to come to the table, and we need development partners to come to the table to co-create solutions that are able to actually begin to drive food and nutrition security. The president is aiming for 100% food and nutrition security. We believe it's possible within our lifetime to actually do it, but we need to have everyone on deck.
I think most important till now is the engagement of the private sector. Well, we talk of public-private sector extension-led models that would sustain that particular thing. We need to have more engagement of the private sector with the farmers so that we can sustain the repeated transaction between the farmers and the private sector.
What needs to be done now is to take this conversation to the decision makers, the policy makers, who should understand that we are stronger as a region than as individuals. And bringing it down to rice, how do the individual country strategies for rice speak to a regional East African strategy for rice, so that we begin to see ourselves as East Africa? How is our rice import bill? How do we make our region as competitive in rice production and marketing? rather than seeing ourselves as individual countries.
The access to finance is still something that needs to be taken up, because the COVID pandemic really distorted gains that had been made in access to finance, because so many things changed. The global finance system almost changed during these 2 years, and lenders got cold feet lending into agriculture because it was still seen to be quite risky, and so there was a contraction in lending to agriculture, which is something that needs to be picked up by others going forward.
A gratitude of thanks to USAID, AGRA, and Kilimo Trust for funding and implementation of the CARI EA project.